Amid the ongoing war in Ukraine and rising global tensions, Moscow made an unexpected move. On September 22, 2025, President Vladimir Putin announced Russia's willingness to extend the New START nuclear arms limits for one more year beyond their scheduled expiration. This conditional offer, coming from a leader known for confrontation, surprised the world and forced a reassessment of Russia's intentions. The proposal, just months before the treaty's expiration, challenged the US to respond, either engage in arms control or risk blame for its collapse. In the high-stakes game of nuclear politics, Putin had made his move. Now, the world waited for the US response. To understand Putin's offer, we must grasp the New START Treaty's importance. Signed in 2010, it's the last bilateral nuclear arms control agreement between the US and Russia, capping deployed strategic warheads at 1,550 and delivery vehicles at 700. The treaty's robust verification regime, on-site inspections, data exchanges, and notifications built trust and transparency. However, inspections were paused in 2020 due to COVID-19, and Russia suspended participation in 2023, citing US support for Ukraine. The treaty, extended once to February 2026, now faces expiration with no replacement in sight. As other arms control agreements have collapsed, New START remains the final barrier against an unchecked nuclear arms race. Putin's one-year extension offer is a pivotal, last-minute attempt to preserve this fragile stability. Putin framed his offer as a way to avoid a new arms race. He emphasized the importance of stability in an increasingly unpredictable world, where geopolitical tensions are on the rise and the threat of conflict looms large. By extending the New START treaty, Putin aimed to maintain predictability during global turmoil. This treaty, which limits the number of deployed strategic nuclear warheads, is seen as a cornerstone of international security. He argued that extending New START would prevent both sides from expanding their arsenals and escalating tensions. The treaty includes rigorous verification measures, ensuring transparency and trust between the two nuclear superpowers. The proposal was also a test. Would the US reciprocate or let the treaty die? The future of global arms control hung in the balance, with the world watching closely. Putin warned that Russia's adherence depended on US compliance. He made it clear that any deviation by the US could lead to a breakdown of the agreement. He also cautioned against US missile defense moves in space. Such actions, he argued, could destabilize the delicate balance of power and lead to a new kind of arms race in outer space. For Russia, the extension is pragmatic. It preserves nuclear parity without costly buildup, especially as its economy strains under war and sanctions. The economic pressures make it difficult for Russia to engage in an expensive arms race. By presenting the move as responsible, Putin seeks to cap US forces. He aims to limit the U.S. ability to expand its military capabilities unchecked and bolster his image as a global statesman. This diplomatic maneuver is designed to enhance his standing on the world stage, portraying him as a leader committed to global stability. The offer is both a practical step and a diplomatic gambit. It reflects a strategic calculation to maintain balance and avoid the catastrophic consequences of a renewed arms race. Putin's offer came amid the most severe Russia-West confrontation since the Cold War. The Ukraine war has shattered trust, with the US and Europe backing Kyiv and Russia viewing this as a proxy war. Military incidents, like Russian aircraft near NATO airspace, have heightened fears of direct conflict. The collapse of previous treaties, including the INF and New START's verification regime, has left the world on the brink of a regulatory vacuum. In this tense environment, any Russian proposal is met with suspicion. Yet, the one-year extension could pause the downward spiral, offering a rare chance for de-escalation. The US response to Putin's proposal was measured and cautious, reflecting a deep and long-standing distrust between the two nuclear superpowers. American officials understood the gravity of the moment, aware that any misstep could have far-reaching consequences for global security. The White House, already under intense scrutiny from both domestic and international audiences, moved deliberately, weighing every word and gesture. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt described the Russian offer as pretty good, but quickly deferred to President Trump, signaling a willingness to engage but stopping short of any firm commitment. Her remarks reflected the administration's desire to keep diplomatic channels open while also maintaining leverage in ongoing negotiations. President Trump's America First approach shaped every aspect of the response. For Trump, any agreement would need to deliver clear benefits to the United States, both in terms of security and international standing. There was also talk of involving China in future arms control discussions, reflecting the administration's broader strategy to address emerging threats and maintain U.S. dominance on the world stage. In Washington, policy analysts and commentators debated the merits of the Russian proposal. Some saw the extension as a pragmatic way to buy time, prevent an immediate collapse of arms control, and avoid chaos in an already volatile international environment. They argued that even a temporary agreement could help stabilize relations and reduce the risk of miscalculation. Within Congress and among senior officials, there were those who favored accepting the offer, believing it would help maintain a fragile stability and keep diplomatic options alive. They pointed to the importance of upholding existing treaties, especially at a time when trust was in short supply. Others, however, demanded strict conditions before moving forward. They insisted on the resumption of on-site inspections which had been suspended and called for concrete steps from Russia to halt its provocations in Ukraine and elsewhere. For these officials, any deal without robust verification would be seen as a dangerous concession. Inside the White House, the administration faced a difficult and consequential choice, whether to preserve the last remaining limits on nuclear arsenals or risk rewarding Moscow's aggression by appearing too eager for a deal. The stakes were high, and every option carried significant risks. The debate underscored the immense complexity of arms control in a time of open conflict and deep mistrust. Negotiators grappled with the challenge of crafting an agreement that could withstand political pressure at home and skepticism abroad. Ultimately, the United States found itself at a crossroads, forced to balance the urgent need for stability against the risk of legitimizing Russian actions. The path forward would require not only careful diplomacy, but also a clear-eyed assessment of America's interests and values in a rapidly changing world. Arms control experts and international leaders largely welcomed Putin's offer as a vital step to reduce tensions. The proposal was seen as a significant move towards stabilizing global security, especially in a time of heightened geopolitical tensions. Many believe that such initiatives are crucial to maintaining peace and preventing the escalation of conflicts that could have devastating consequences. Daryl Kimball of the Arms Control Association urged the U.S. to reciprocate, arguing that even a temporary extension would prevent a destabilizing arms race. He emphasized that the extension would buy valuable time for more comprehensive negotiations, which are essential for long-term global security. Kimball also highlighted the importance of maintaining open communication channels between the two nuclear superpowers. Experts noted that, despite suspended inspections, satellite surveillance could still verify compliance, making the deal worthwhile. Advanced satellite technology allows for continuous monitoring, ensuring that both parties adhere to the terms of the agreement. This technological capability provides a layer of transparency and trust that is critical in international arms control agreements. China welcomed the move, but refused to join trilateral talks, insisting its arsenal remains much smaller and defensive. Chinese officials reiterated their stance that their nuclear capabilities are purely for defensive purposes and do not pose a threat to global security. They also called for other nuclear-armed nations to take similar steps towards arms control. European allies, alarmed by the prospect of treaty collapse, quietly encouraged Washington to engage with Moscow. European leaders stressed the importance of maintaining the treaty to ensure regional stability and prevent a potential arms race on the continent. They also expressed their willingness to support any diplomatic efforts aimed at preserving the agreement. For Europe, arms control is a matter of survival, not just diplomacy. The continent's history of conflict underscores the critical need for agreements that limit the proliferation of nuclear weapons. European nations view these treaties as essential safeguards that protect their citizens and maintain peace. The extension is seen as a pragmatic necessity to contain the nuclear threat while managing the conventional war in Ukraine. Balancing these two significant security challenges requires careful diplomacy and strategic planning. The extension provides a framework within which these complex issues can be addressed more effectively. The global consensus, any step to preserve nuclear limits, is better than none. International cooperation and commitment to arms control are viewed as essential components of global security. By taking even small steps towards limiting nuclear arsenals, the international community can work towards a safer and more stable world. If New START expires with no replacement, the world faces grave risks. Without legal limits or verification, both sides would assume the worst, fueling a new arms race. Russia could quickly add warheads to existing missiles. The US could respond in kind, escalating costs and dangers. The collapse would undermine the global non-proliferation regime, eroding trust in the NPT and encouraging other nations to seek nuclear arms. The loss of data exchanges and notifications would raise the risk of miscalculation and accidental war. Even imperfect, the treaty's guardrails are a critical firebreak against catastrophe. The stakes of inaction are existential. Preventing a new nuclear arms race is a matter of global survival. An unrestrained buildup would drain resources, heighten instability, and make nuclear war more likely. Preserving New START's limits, even briefly, gives leaders time to reconsider the consequences of collapse. The treaty's balance ensures neither side can strike first without devastating retaliation. Mutually assured destruction remains a grim but effective deterrent. New technologies threaten this balance, making arms control more urgent than ever. Choosing restraint is not weakness, but wisdom and responsibility to future generations. Putin's offer, whatever its motives, is a chance to step back from the brink. Putin's one-year extension is a stopgap, not a solution. The US should accept the offer, lowering tensions and buying time for real diplomacy. Next, both sides must restart strategic stability talks, focusing on transparency and new verification measures. Future agreements must address emerging threats, hypersonics, missile defense, and space weapons, and eventually involve China. Strengthening non-proliferation institutions and global norms against nuclear use is essential. The current crisis is a wake-up call. Leaders must step back from the brink and rebuild a safer future. The path forward is difficult, but the alternative, nuclear chaos, is unthinkable.